If you're a couple, a group, or even an individual, and you're looking for a unique destination with a storied musical history and tons of fun activities to explore, Seattle might be the right place for you. Hey everyone, I'm Brian. This is my fiance Shiori, and we make content that's great for couples, but good for almost anyone interested in travel. Today, I want to talk to you about our trip to Seattle. So, I'm a huge grunge fan, and walking in the footsteps of bands like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Nirvana is something I've always wanted to do. So, when we planned a trip to Yosemite in California, we added Seattle as the final leg. And that's actually my first tip to you. If you're considering going out west, I would suggest to you that you add Yosemite as part of your visit because it creates a really cool contrast visiting a national park where obviously you're out admiring nature and you're roughing it in a cabin to going into a city like Seattle. Next, let's get into our full agenda for our trip to Seattle so you can navigate the city with confidence and have a great visit. Okay, so the first thing you need if you're going to stay for more than a day is a good headquarters or home base. We chose the Mediterranean Inn. It's only 10 minutes on foot from the Space Needle. It's surrounded by good restaurants and even a grocery store, and it has a rooftop deck with an amazing view of the city. Not to mention, the staff is awesome. They're friendly, they're helpful, and they're super available whenever you need them. Another bonus is that the Mediterranean Inn has laundry machines to keep your clothes fresh and smelling good. The rooftop is an awesome place to take in the city when you first arrive and have some romantic moments with your significant other. There's comfortable seating, space heaters, and you get a really nice view of the Space Needle. For us, the Mediterranean Inn was a great introduction to the city of Seattle, and it's perfectly situated so you can get to all kinds of restaurants, attractions like museums and the Space Needle and other places. After checking in, we needed to get some grub, so we Googled some restaurants nearby and checked out the menus. One place that stood out was Moon Tree Sushi and Tapas. They have a fire dragon roll that looked really incredible, and so we headed there. This place definitely delivered. It was super busy, but we were seated fairly quickly, and we were seated by a window. I got that fancy dragon roll, Shio got the chirashi, and both were really delicious. Eating quality sushi while looking out the window at the city street was a really nice introduction to Seattle, good first meal. So we recommend Moontree if you're hungry and you're in that area. The next thing on the list is something called VEO Bike or VEO Bike. It's similar to Bird scooters, Lime scooters, that kind of thing, except it's a bike. I'm mentioning this for two reasons. So number one, the next places we wanted to get to were a bit of a walk and we wanted to save some time. The second reason is because this is something fun we do as a couple in pretty much every city we're in. Whether it's a bike or a scooter, Shio and I always get one, and I'm kind of in the main driving position and then she gets on the front or the back and we just full send to our location. It's a little bit crazy, a little bit obnoxious, but it's a ton of fun and it's a great couples activity if you're a younger pair or maybe you're older and you just want to have some fun and have a laugh together. We ended up going to an ice cream place. It's called Salt and Straw. And if you're looking for a cute date night spot, this is the place. It's on a road with a big incline and it kind of gives it that San Francisco feel. That's always felt romantic to me. I don't know if it hits you the same way. The area had a lot of college kids, the good kind. So there's a lot of that younger, positive energy around. And the menu is really cool too. There's tons of unique flavors that you won't find anywhere else. A few examples are pots of gold and rainbows. This has Lucky Charms in it. Honey lavender, which is really cool, and strawberry honey balsamic with black pepper. Don't let the pepper scare you away. Their flavor combinations are awesome. So this is a really cool place. You can visit with your significant other. You can laugh at and discuss all the off the wall flavor combinations and talk about what each person got and walk the area with your treats and do some people watching. If you're trying to arrange a date in Seattle, this could be one of those fun little spots that you hit as part of a larger agenda. So, like I said, we came from the Yosemite area in California. So that pretty much wraps up what we did on day one. We retired, went back to the hotel, did a little rooftop viewing, and then went to bed. Day two, we started off needing some breakfast, and we went to Oddfellows Cafe and Bar. It's a pretty nice place with hearty, fresh food and a rustic kind of wooden look on the inside. It's got a cozy, trendy feel to it, and it's got seating both indoors and outdoors. We were seated outside. I got a breakfast sandwich. I can't remember what Shio got, but I do remember that both of us thought it was really delicious and super filling, so you certainly get your money's worth at Oddfellows. We were sitting outside on a comfortable day with the sun shining, dogs sitting with their owners, giving them those longing looks, begging for food, and the sounds of quiet conversation. It just made for the perfect morning. Oddfellows gets a thumbs up from us as a spot to consider for a good meal. The next stop on the list for day two is Pike Place. What's a visit to Seattle without a stop to Pike Place Market? So we did do the touristy thing and went to Pike, and while it didn't include an impromptu performance from Dave Grohl, it was still pretty cool. It's a farmer's market, so you're going to see just what you would expect. So about a mile of fresh produce, but there's also all kinds of little shops and stands with trinkets and knickknacks for you to browse and sift through. I really love these sorts of places, especially for couples, because it's a great location for you to walk around at that really slow pace, browse things, pick things up that are interesting, to talk about them, maybe even laugh about them. And you can hold hands, and again, you can people watch and just sort of experience the energy of Seattle at a location like Pike Place Market. So I really like it for couples. Overall, just for me personally, Pike didn't blow my mind, just to keep this review honest. It was cool. It's got that iconic look. And it was great to capture pictures in front of that sign. But, you know, even in terms of like farmers markets or open markets like this, it wasn't the most impressive that I've seen, but definitely cool. The original Starbucks is a cool place to try out. It's got the old signage and logo. It's got the shop inside. There'll likely be a long line that you have to wait in, but that can be fun too. You know, especially if you're a couple, can be a good time to slow things down, check in with each other, and anticipate going into the original location and seeing, you know, what it looks like inside. Staff is friendly, and surprisingly, I don't remember it being overcrowded. So when you do get inside, even though the line is long, I'm pretty sure they limit the number of people that are inside at any given time. So your experience inside should be pretty comfortable. Nice to see a piece of history, but again, it's a Starbucks. So this was more of a checklist item rather than something we'd be eager to do again, or, you know, something that we were super impressed by. Let's talk about the gum wall. I'm not sure if you should put this on your list. This one really depends on what kind of person, group, or couple you are. I can give you my personal take, and I think Shio agrees with me. It was a little bit disgusting, to be honest. I don't mean to sound like a grumpy old man or anything, but it actually really was disgusting when you actually go there. I had seen pictures of it, and believe me, I'm in on grunge culture. The unkempt, unwashed look of the musicians and even the fans of the music. So I thought I would really like the gum wall. When I was actually standing in it, it was just kind of disgusting. I didn't really like it. It's not something I'd go back to see, but you might think that's really funny, or you might think it's super interesting. So I am going to put it on the list. It's right there in the Pike Place Market area. So, you know, it just kind of is one of those things you're probably just going to go check it out. And whether you enjoy it or not, I'd be eager to hear what you thought about it in the comments if you've been. It was a little bit of a hot day, so we headed over to a place called Blended Juice and Coffee. It's a pretty cool place. Again, it wasn't blown away by the product. We got a couple of smoothies, but I will say the ingredients were fresh and everything for what it was well made. And the cool thing about the location is it's got some fun seating like beanbag chairs, and it's got some games you can play. So we got a couple of smoothies, sipped on those, and cooled off from the hot weather, and played like a bag toss game where I definitely won, by the way. Shiori did not beat me. So, all told, it's a fun place for a couple to stop in, spontaneous as you're strolling around the city or as part of a multi stop date. This would be a good place to grab a treat, play a game, which is always a good scenario for reducing awkwardness and facilitating conversation, talking to those maybe younger couples out there. By this time, we were hungry again, and it was time to stop by Cashew Thai Cuisine. So, Seattle has some great Asian restaurants. From what we can tell, they have a really vibrant Asian population, and the restaurants do not let down. This was a really cool place. And there's something about these places that's just really conducive to being a couple. The food is really vibrant, it's colorful, it tastes amazing. So it just gives you a lot to focus on, look at, and talk about. This is a solid place to consider if you need a fun lunch or dinner. Then we come to the International Fountain. This is an awesome place to stop if you're on a date like midday. It probably is cool at night as well, but we went during the day, so I can't quite speak to nighttime. It's got a stellar view of the Space Needle in the distance. In fact, the Space Needle is a really easy walk from the fountain, so this is a really cool place. It's got an interesting design. It's basically a giant bowl with an orb in the middle, and there's water, spilling out in all directions. We saw people walking around, chatting, sitting together, doing picnics. There were children in the middle of the fountain playing in the water, so it's at least safe enough to play in. We stopped to take it all in, and it was a really pleasant experience. It's always nice to find a city, or at least a spot within the city, where you can enjoy the outdoors. And I think Seattle has done a great job on this particular area. It's as green as can be. The air was fresh. It's a great spot to stop and talk or sit quietly and people watch. You could, plan for a brief picnic here. It's quite versatile, and we loved it. Before we headed to the Space Needle on day 2, we stopped at the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Mark this one down as a great date spot. I mean, aren't all museums? The Garden and Glass Museum featured glass-blown works of art that were honestly quite stunning. This place comes highly rated. It holds a 4.7 from its Google reviews, and we would have to agree. We loved it here. I think like all museums, the time it takes you to walk through just depends on, how long you stop at each exhibit. It was later in the day, so for us, we actually were able to get tickets quite easily, and that's something I commonly see in the Google reviews, which is great. But it was toward the end of the day, so we had to make it through the museum in about an hour, which we were able to do pretty comfortably. But that doesn't mean that the museum is lame or anything. I've also commonly seen reviewers say that you could spend up to 2 or 3 hours in the museum if you really take your time and take everything in. So it's a great place for picture taking. You're going to get some really cool, vibrant colors in your pictures and wild alien shapes. It's a ton of fun, and it's got an indoor and an outdoor portion to it, which we really liked. In fact, in the outdoor portion, there was this glass ball. It was a blue color, and we took kind of like a cute little couple's picture within that orb, and we had the Space Needle in the background. So you're going to find some great couples moments in here, but like a lot of the items on this list, it's great for families, friend groups, or even individuals as well. And that brings us to the Seattle cliche, the Space Needle. You gotta visit it. I want to throw something out there. One of my favorite things about the Space Needle is the elevator because it's a see-through elevator and you get to look out across the city as you're going up the Space Needle in the elevator. If you don't like heights, it might make you a little woozy, but look, if you're going up to the top of the Space Needle and you don't like heights, you're going to probably have to deal with some discomfort. I know I did. I get a little dizzy at times, but the elevator was really cool. So don't sleep on that part. At the top of the Space Needle, it's really incredible. It's this, obviously a circular shape at the top, but the glass is sort of angled a little bit. And people were actually just like laying across this glass and looking down or, looking the other way so they could snap a picture. I wasn't brave enough to do that, but I saw people having a lot of fun doing that with the city, hundreds and hundreds of feet below them. You can get drinks and food up there, and there's history cards with bits of information so you can learn about, the construction of the Space Needle and who's visited it and things like that. So the observation deck is actually cooler than I thought. I thought it would really just be like walking around in a circle and then we're ready to take the elevator down. But we were up there for a while, taking in the views and, watching people take pictures and learning about some of the history of it. And by the way, something I totally forgot about when I was up there is Mount Rainier. You can see the mountain from the Space Needle, and it's one of the most breathtaking views you'll have of Seattle. You've got the city in the foreground, the mountain in the back, and you're standing in the observation deck of the Space Needle. It doesn't get more Seattle than that. Moving on to our day 3, I'll start it off with where we ate lunch. This place called Koba, and they have a few things going for them. Number one, a large variety of menu options, delicious, vibrant food. We're at another Asian eatery, so that's been a common theme. Really friendly and attentive staff, and a really cool looking, chill, urban environment in there. It's another great restaurant in the city, especially for a date. Fellas, if you want a place that makes you look trendy and cool, this is a hip place to take your girl. We were looking for another treat, so our next recommendation is the Sugar Bakery. Perfect marketing there. Take my money. It's a cute place with a cozy atmosphere. It's great for a mid-afternoon date. You can grab a coffee and a pastry here and have a chat. Just beware, again, if you're on a date, some of the desserts can be the flaky kind and can get messy, which is not ideal when you're trying to impress from across the table. So I'll just throw that tip out there. And the last place on our list is Kinnear Park. It's a decent place. It's a good spot if you want to try something different that's outside the city, that does provide some great views because you're looking from a different vantage point. It's dog friendly, which I personally love because I love bumping into new dogs and, greeting them and giving them a scratch. It's a smaller park, but it's a great place to walk with your partner, hold hands, and just explore. So here are my final thoughts on visiting Seattle, Washington. As a couple, we really enjoyed Seattle. We experienced good food, incredible views, and because of where we were situated at the Mediterranean Inn, our entire 3-day experience was very walkable. Shio only had to Uber once. I was sick that day, but other than that, we didn't have to use rideshare. Something else worth mentioning is from Shio's perspective, Seattle had a strong Asian community presence. We saw many friendly faces from the region, and there were plenty of Asian eateries to try. We also saw a strong population of Asian college students, so it seems like a fantastic place if you're studying abroad. That said, there were some things that we didn't care for. Many of the city streets had a very strong smell of urine, and we fairly frequently encountered homeless people yelling, gesturing violently, and on a couple of occasions even smashing glass. I'm used to this to some degree, having lived in America my whole life, and I've been to a lot of the major cities, but it was to a level that was definitely a bit more noticeable. With that said, overall, Seattle was an awesome and fun place to visit with a character of its own. It's great if you're a couple, a music fan, or if you're looking for an interesting city to explore with friends or family. I hope this video gave you some idea of what Seattle might be like and some ideas for how you might plan your own visit. If you did enjoy it, consider subscribing to the channel, and please do leave a comment below if you found this helpful or if you have thoughts of your own on Seattle. We'll see you in the next video.